But we do begin tonight with singer R. Kelly, sentenced to 30 years behind bars after his conviction on racketeering and sex trafficking.
A lot of these platforms, they've been holding me back from really going in and exposing what I really want to expose. That's R. Kelly's former cellmate, and he's finally revealing what's really going down with the rapper behind bars. Because if you haven't heard, R. Kelly is going through it. R. Kelly was then removed against his will, by guards from the prison and was not allowed to be treated. And they are saying that basically this could kill him because of the blood clots and the care that they are alleging he is not receiving. We've got all the details and the situation involves some big names. Let's get into it. The murder game fighting for life behind bars. Okay, so R. Kelly is really going through it behind bars, and a lot of what's been happening was kept under the radar. That is until June 2025 when his legal team led by attorney Beau Brinley filed what might be one of the most explosive legal motions in recent memory. Filed in Chicago federal court. The motion demanded Kelly's immediate release to home detention, claiming that officials within the Bureau of Prisons alongside members of the Aryan Brotherhood were allegedly involved in a murder plot against him. These are people who seek to kill Mr. Kelly rather than allow the corrupt criminal conduct of those who manufactured his convictions be exposed. But this wasn't just lawyers making dramatic claims to get their client out the joint. The motion included a sworn statement from a key witness, someone who claimed first-hand knowledge of the plot to body Kelly. The main character in these allegations is McQuill Glenn Stein, a terminally ill inmate who identified himself as a shot caller in the Aryan Brotherhood. According to a sworn statement from Stein, 3 Bureau of Prisons officials at the Federal Correctional Institution in Butner, North Carolina, offered him freedom in exchange for Kelly's murder. Mr. Stein, in his declaration, said for the reason, and the reason is that Mr. Kelly was about to expose some facts that would be extremely inflammatory and damaging to the Bureau of Prisons and the Department of Justice. And because of that, the Bureau of Prisons instructed McQuill Glenn Stein to go to Butner and execute R. Kelly. And Mr. Stein made clear, and gave us extraordinary detail when we spoke to Mr. Stein. We didn't use this until we actually went down and met with Mr. Stein for hours. And he told us in extraordinary detail that this is not the first instance that this happens all the time. That the Aryan Brotherhood has been directed to commit murders and beatings at the behest of prison officials for years. According to Kelly's attorney, Beau Brinley, Stein was told that Kelly was about to expose information that would be extremely inflammatory and damaging to the Bureau of Prisons and the Department of Justice. The solution, according to the allegations, was to have Kelly eliminated before he could spill that tea. But here's what makes the story even more twisted. Stein claims he was offered a very specific deal. They said that if he is to do this, he, as a terminal cancer patient, is going to die in the near future. That's a fact. And they said that he will be transferred, and he'll get the opportunity to walk away. And McQuill Glenn Stein has a history of escaping from Bureau of Prisons facilities. He escaped previously. That's why he spent so long at the ADX Supermax in Florence. And all of a sudden he was moved to this relatively low security facility at Butner and put near R. Kelly. That's a fact. According to the allegations, Stein, who's dying from cancer, was told he would be transferred to another facility and given the opportunity to escape, allowing him to die as a free man rather than locked up. Stein has a history of escaping from Bureau of Prisons facilities and had previously been held at the ADX Supermax in Florence, which makes the escape offer particularly believable. But something unexpected happened. Instead of carrying out the alleged murder, Stein claims he had a change of heart. Stein allegedly arrived at Kelly's prison unit in March 2025 and was directed by BOP officials to kill Kelly. But instead of acting on the order, Stein informed Kelly of the plot. According to Kelly's attorney, Stein revealed that this type of arrangement, where prison officials allegedly direct gang members to commit violence, happens all the time, and that the Aryan Brotherhood has been directed to commit murders and beatings at the behest of prison officials for years. If this is real talk, it would represent systematic corruption of the federal prison system that goes way beyond Kelly's case. But the alleged plot didn't end with Stein's refusal. Kelly's attorneys claim,
and the legal fight for R. Kelly isn't over. His lawyers say he didn't speak during the...
They learned of a second Aryan Brotherhood member who was also directed by prison officials to kill both Kelly and Stein, and that discussions have been had about poison in the food hall, about poison in the commissary. Discussions with Mr. Stein have been had about stabbings. These are the kinds of methods that have been discussed. The allegations include specific methods that were allegedly discussed for carrying out the hit, including poisoning Kelly's food in the chow hall or commissary and stabbings. Following the filing of the emergency motion, Kelly's situation allegedly became even more messed up. Kelly was reportedly moved to solitary confinement at FCI Butner, where his legal team claims he is unable to contact his family and is in spider-infested conditions. Kelly's legal team argues that the solitary confinement is retaliation for exposing the alleged murder plot rather than protection. Kelly is allegedly too scared to eat prison meals or use commissary goods, believing they may be poisoned. But the murder plot is just one part of a larger conspiracy that Kelly's legal team alleges. They claim the entire case against Kelly was built on constitutional violations and prosecutorial misconduct. Well, let me say it this way. It's not that he doesn't have evidence. We do have evidence. And one piece of evidence we've already presented in the form of a signed declaration from Keshan Mogadamudi, Kelly's former cellmate. He's filing about what they're doing to all blacks in America. They violating our human rights. Kelly's case too. They violating that man's human rights. Like Larry Hoover, they violating his human rights. He got another bogus case. Federal prosecutors have responded to these allegations with dismissive language that reveals their view of Kelly's claims. On June 16, 2025, prosecutors dismissed Kelly's murder plot allegations as fanciful, deeply unserious, and a mockery of the harm suffered by his victims. They also described Kelly as a serial and unrepentant child molester and argue that his allegations make a mockery of the harm suffered by his victims. Prosecutors argue that Kelly's placement in solitary confinement shows prison officials are taking his safety concerns seriously, contradicting the narrative of a murder plot. In a move that shows just how desperate Kelly's situation has become, his legal team has made a direct appeal to President Donald Trump for a presidential pardon. Absolutely, we're going to seek every opportunity to, one, make sure that Robert Kelly doesn't get killed, and number two, to see that he is free based on what we believe to be and will prove to be a corrupt prosecution, the kind of which President Trump has promised to eradicate. Kelly's attorneys have publicly appealed to President Donald Trump for a presidential pardon, arguing that Kelly is a victim of prosecutorial misconduct and that Trump, having faced legal scrutiny himself, would understand Kelly's plight. The appeal to Trump appears to be strategic, citing Trump's recent commutation of the sentence of Gangster Disciples co-founder Larry Hoover as president. However, no pardon has been granted as of the latest reports. Kelly's case raises broader questions about the systematic targeting of powerful black men in America. His former cellmate, Ronnie Bao, draws connections between Kelly's situation and other high-profile cases. Kelly's legal battles in the traditional court system have been largely unsuccessful. The Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals upheld Kelly's conviction and 30-year sentence on February 12, 2025, rejecting arguments about inadequate evidence, biased jurors, and improper use of racketeering laws. Kelly's attorney, Jennifer Bonjohn, plans to seek U.S. Supreme Court review, citing concerns about prosecutorial overreach. However, the U.S. Supreme Court declined to hear Kelly's appeal of the Chicago conviction in October 2024. Despite the legal battles and alleged threats, Kelly has reportedly remained creatively active while locked up. In a March 2025 podcast interview with Inmate T with AANDP, he claimed to have written 25 albums while in prison. This is where the story takes a serious and unexpected turn. According to newly filed court documents, R. Kelly experienced a frightening medical emergency while in custody, an incident his legal team claims was the direct result of improper medication administration.
8 counts of sex trafficking. The trial lasting nearly 6 weeks, with close to 50 witnesses testifying.
So in the emergency filing, they alleged that R. Kelly was given an additional dose of medication by prison staff. And they're alleging that because of that additional medication that he was instructed to take, and that he actually took, he suffered an overdose. And while Kelly was locked up, he faced some real danger. In 2020, a disturbing incident occurred when another inmate attacked him, leaving him with severe facial injuries. This attack, coupled with the alleged threats and hostile environment within the prison, seemed to confirm Kelly's fears about his safety. And these weren't just random acts of violence. Many believe they were orchestrated, part of a deliberate campaign to silence him. It's a grim picture of a man already facing a mountain of legal battles and public condemnation, battling for his very survival within the confines of a system that, according to those inside, seems designed to break him. The question isn't just what happened to R. Kelly in jail, but why? What was he hiding? Who was trying to silence him? And what secrets were so dangerous that they warranted this level of animosity? The allegations surrounding Jay-Z, particularly the claim that he funded the surviving R. Kelly documentary, are especially explosive. The potential implications of this are enormous. If true, it would suggest a deliberate effort to destroy Kelly's career and reputation, funded by one of the most powerful figures in the music industry. And it's not just about the financial aspect. It's about the power dynamics at play. It speaks to a culture where certain individuals have the ability to make or break careers, to manipulate public perception, and to silence those who threaten their position. This isn't merely about one man's downfall. It's about the systemic issues within the music industry and the potential for abuse of power. The suggestion that Jay-Z might have been involved in orchestrating Kelly's public humiliation raises serious questions about ethics, responsibility, and the true cost of success in the entertainment world. It forces us to confront the uncomfortable possibility that the pursuit of fame and fortune can lead to acts of deliberate cruelty and calculated destruction. Ronnie Bo's claims about Kelly's music catalog and its true value are also incredibly significant. The fact that Kelly supposedly discovered his catalog was worth $1.2 billion, only to find himself struggling financially and dependent on touring, paints a disturbing picture of exploitation and manipulation. This isn't about a musician simply not managing his finances. It's about a system that prevented him from receiving the full benefits of his work. Someone was profiting from his talent, and Kelly was seemingly powerless to stop it. This isn't just about money. It's about ownership, control, and the right to benefit from one's own creativity. It speaks to a culture where talent is often exploited, and artists are forced to navigate a complex web of contracts and agreements that often favor those in power. And the fact that Kelly, a man with such immense talent and potential, was reduced to relying on touring to survive highlights the tragic consequences of this exploitation. The idea of a blacklist, where artists who don't conform to certain industry agendas are systematically silenced and prevented from gaining mainstream exposure, is a chilling one. Ronnie Bo's own experience of being blocked from appearing on The Breakfast Club due to concerns raised by iHeart Media seemingly corroborates this claim. It suggests a network of power and influence that extends far beyond the realm of music, impacting artists' ability to share their work and connect with audiences. It paints a picture of an industry where creativity is stifled and conformity is rewarded. And it raises the uncomfortable question of who is making these decisions and what their motivations are. Is it simply about protecting certain artists' careers, or is there something more sinister at play? The attacks Kelly allegedly suffered within the prison environment seem to be a direct manifestation of the animosity he faced. The injuries he sustained and the perceived orchestration of those attacks suggest a concerted effort to intimidate and silence him. This paints a disturbing picture of a man battling not only legal battles and public condemnation, but also a hostile environment within the very institution meant to provide security and justice. And the fact that these attacks were seemingly targeted and possibly coordinated suggests a level of animosity that goes beyond mere prison politics. It speaks to a desire to inflict pain, both physical and emotional, and to punish Kelly for something more than his alleged crimes. Ronnie Bo's comments about the music industry as a whole are particularly insightful, painting a picture of an environment rife with exploitation, manipulation,
world around him for decades, and authorities believe for years his actions were protected by his fame. Then in 2019, in the TV docuseries Surviving R. Kelly,
he speaks of artists being forced to navigate a complex web of contracts and agreements that often favor those in power, and of a culture where creativity is stifled and conformity is rewarded. And his own experience of being blacklisted from major platforms underscores the reality of this environment. This isn't just about one man's story. It's about a larger pattern of behavior within the music industry. It's about a system that prioritizes profit and power over artistic integrity and fairness. The recurring theme of secret dealings and hidden agendas throughout these allegations adds another layer of complexity to the situation. The suggestion that powerful figures are involved in manipulating events behind the scenes, and that Kelly was privy to information that made him a target, raises the possibility that his downfall was orchestrated by forces beyond his control. It paints a picture of a world where the truth is obscured by layers of deception, and where the pursuit of power can lead to acts of deliberate cruelty and calculated destruction. It forces us to confront the uncomfortable possibility that the music industry, like many other industries, is not as transparent or as ethical as we might believe. The fact that Kelly's situation continues to be shrouded in secrecy and speculation only serves to fuel the intrigue. The lack of transparency surrounding his legal battles, his prison environment, and the individuals allegedly involved in manipulating events only deepens the mystery. And the fact that many of the key players remain silent only serves to reinforce the perception that there is something more to the story. It suggests that there is a concerted effort to suppress the truth, and that those involved have a vested interest in keeping the details hidden. Ultimately, the story of R. Kelly's experience in jail is a complex and troubling one, filled with allegations of exploitation, manipulation, and systemic injustice. It's a story that raises uncomfortable questions about the music industry, the abuse of power, and the lengths to which some individuals will go to protect their reputations and maintain their positions. And it's a story that demands further investigation and a greater level of transparency. The truth may be painful, but it's essential that we uncover it, not only to understand what happened to R. Kelly, but also to prevent similar situations from happening again. It highlights the critical need for accountability within the music industry and the protection of artists' rights. The narrative isn't just about the downfall of one individual. It's a cautionary tale about the potential for abuse of power and the importance of fighting for justice and fairness in all aspects of the entertainment world. The weight of the allegations suggests a deeper, more systemic problem that needs to be addressed if we want to create a more equitable and ethical environment for artists. And that's a very big if. The question that remains is whether we'll ever know the full truth about what really went down with R. Kelly in the pen. With powerful forces allegedly working to keep him quiet, and with Kelly himself facing what might be a life sentence, the secrets he claims to know may die with him. The king of R&B may have fallen from grace, but the shock waves from his fall are still reverberating through the halls of power, and they may continue to do so for years to come. This ain't just about one man's story anymore. It's about a system that allegedly preys on those who know too much, and what happens when the streets meet the highest levels of government and industry corruption. It's easy to dismiss these allegations as the ravings of a desperate man, a prisoner trying to lessen his sentence by throwing mud at everyone around him. But the sheer volume of corroborating evidence, the women coming forward, the leaked documents, the internal memos, paints a disturbing picture of a carefully constructed web of power and control. The fact that Kelly, a man accustomed to operating in the shadows, is now so willing to expose those secrets speaks to a level of desperation that transcends mere self-preservation. It's a cry for help, a desperate attempt to shed light on a darkness that threatens to consume him. But why would powerful figures within the music industry and even government agencies be so invested in keeping Kelly silent? The answer, as always, lies in the preservation of power and the protection of reputations. The music industry, despite its veneer of creativity and innovation, is fundamentally a business. And like any business, it's driven by
accuse him of abuse. Arrests followed on charges in Illinois, and in federal court, Kelly held without bail for nearly.
Kelly's story represents a threat to that system, a potential domino that could topple the carefully constructed foundations of an empire. Think about the implications if Kelly were to reveal the full extent of his knowledge, detailing the secret deals, the backroom negotiations, the financial manipulations that have defined the industry for decades. It's a scenario that would send shockwaves through the entire entertainment world, exposing a level of corruption that few could have imagined. It's a scenario that powerful figures are desperate to avoid, and they're willing to go to extreme lengths to achieve that goal. The allegations of Kelly being attacked in jail, and the subsequent reports of orchestrated protests and lockdowns, are just another layer of this complex and disturbing narrative. The claim that Jeremiah Shane Farmer, the Latin Kings member who assaulted Kelly, was acting on behalf of authorities is particularly troubling. It suggests a deliberate attempt to silence Kelly and punish him for his willingness to speak out. It raises serious questions about the extent to which government agencies are willing to go to protect their secrets. Bo's testimony and his willingness to challenge federal authorities in court lends credibility to these allegations. His successful lawsuits against the agents demonstrate his commitment to fighting for justice and his willingness to expose corruption, even at great personal risk. His description of Kelly as someone who refused to compromise his principles, even when it could have helped his career, is a testament to his integrity and his unwillingness to be silenced. Kelly's refusal to bow down to industry pressure, his steadfast commitment to his own vision, created enemies in high places. These are the people who profited from his silence, who thrived on his discretion. They are the ones who have the most to lose if Kelly were to reveal the truth. They are the ones who are willing to use whatever means necessary to ensure that he remains quiet. The story of Aaliyah, Kelly's young protege, cast a long shadow over this entire saga. Her tragic death and the subsequent allegations of impropriety surrounding her relationship with Kelly remain a source of controversy and speculation. The details surrounding her relationship with Kelly and the circumstances of her death remain shrouded in mystery. Were they the result of a genuine connection or something far more sinister? Did Kelly exploit her vulnerability, manipulating her for his own gain? These are questions that may never be answered definitively, but they contribute to the overall sense of unease and suspicion surrounding Kelly's story. The testimonies of the 11 victims who spoke during Kelly's sentencing hearing were heartbreaking. They recounted years of abuse, manipulation, and exploitation, detailing the devastating impact that Kelly's actions had on their lives. Their voices, amplified by the court proceedings, served as a powerful indictment of Kelly's behavior and a testament to the resilience of survivors. Their courage in speaking out, despite the risks and challenges they faced, was an inspiration to others who have been silenced by abuse. The fact that Kelly showed no remorse during his sentencing hearing, demonstrating a complete lack of empathy for the victims, was deeply disturbing. It suggested a deep-seated sense of entitlement and a complete disregard for the suffering he had caused. It was a chilling reminder of the darkness that resides within him. The legal battles are far from over. Kelly's emergency motion, scheduled for a hearing in June 2025, represents a last-ditch effort to challenge his confinement and expose the alleged injustices he has suffered. The question of whether the Chicago court has jurisdiction over Kelly's claim remains a complex legal issue, and the outcome of the hearing could have significant implications for the future of his case. As Kelly languishes in solitary confinement, awaiting a verdict that may determine his fate, the world remains captivated by his story. The questions remain: what secrets does he possess? Who is working to silence him? And will the truth ever emerge from the shadows? The answer may lie in the depths of his memory, waiting to be unlocked. The world watches, breathlessly anticipating the next chapter in this extraordinary saga. It's a story that transcends the boundaries of celebrity and scandal, delving into the darkest corners of power, corruption, and the desperate fight for justice. As Kelly languishes in solitary confinement, awaiting a verdict that may determine his fate, the world remains captivated by his story. The questions remain: what secrets does he possess? Who is working to silence him? And will the truth ever emerge from the shadows? The answer may lie in the depths of his memory, waiting to be unlocked. The world watches, breathlessly anticipating the next chapter in